Sorry, I thought you were doing it.
Hello, Croeso Nôl. Welcome to Fearless in Devotion, the Wrexham AFC podcast, sponsored, of course, by who, Andy?
Fat ball.
Fat Ball Bar and Restaurant, of course. Before we come to all things Wrexham, Tim, you've just come back from Cardiff. You survived the trip up north after witnessing Cymru's stunning win, 2-1, goals from Harry Wilson over Croatia. All the doom and gloom of the past couple of weeks seems to have been reversed. It's still in Wales's hands. How do you think they can do it?
I think they can, yeah. I don't see any reason why they can't now, to be honest. However, the two games that they're playing are obviously where it kind of fell down initially with the home defeat to Armenia and then Turkey. So two big games, but if they play like they did last night, then anything's possible. It was so good. It was up there, one of the best in living memory. Definitely best post Gareth Bale. But yeah, really, really good. Happy, great weekend, really, if you're a Wrexham and Wales fan.
Yeah, and obviously football, Welsh football, back at the racecourse again.
Yeah, the Gibraltar thing was a bit weird. And a lot of people lot was mentioned about the atmosphere, but when you've not had a game there for 5 years, in what was very substandard opposition, with the greatest respect, they were very poor. You're going to have pockets of people and new fans and families trying to create something, but it's difficult. But it was good to have it back there. As I've said before, I just hope it's not a token gesture and it's a start of things to come, especially going forward with a new cop. But it was good. It was great that it was a sellout. A lot of people enjoyed it, and from what we can see and read, the feedback was favourable from everybody who attended. So yeah, happy days.
Yes, and hopefully it's a starting point, isn't it? We hope you're never going to get a bouncing atmosphere, a friendly game anyway, no matter what it is. Anyway, back to Wrexham. The reaction to another crazy end to another crazy game. Salford, sorry, not Salford. Salford at home. I mean, Christ, where do we start? The impact of the subs, Andy. Jordan Davis looked superb, didn't he? And Fletcher just seems to be what the Americans and Nathan Salt would call a clutch player.
I have no idea what that is. What
I
is
think
that?
it
Because he
means
needs
they
to
do
changing gear.
things. They do important things at the end of games. I think that's what it means.
Okay, fair enough.
Changing gear.
Well, yeah, you use your clutch to change gear, don't you? Right? Well, we've knocked it down. We're from first. We're taking it straight to second. Look at that acceleration. No one can live with it. What a clutch player!
Ruined it for me when Fletcher comes off the bench at Bradford. I'm like, he's into third, fourth.
To be fair, I am determined to not allow clutch to seep into British discourse. So
No.
I'm sorry for
I
bringing
think
it
we've
up,
ruined
Andy.
it. We've ruined it.
Great super impact subs is what I'm looking at saying.
Right, yeah, okay, let's go through them. Davis, I think he looked like the Davis of old. He just glides around the pitch when he's fit and firing. He just makes everything easy. And I just knew he was going to finish that. There was never a doubt. Yeah, he had a header as well. You forget how much of a goal threat and an assist machine the guy is when he's fit and firing, and he looks like he's fit and firing now. He looks like he's got something to prove. I think the question is, can you play him and Lee together? And I don't think you probably can in the system we've got at the moment. So if it's either or, it's a good puzzle to have, because you've got two people, two outstanding left-sided attacking mids pushing each other. You can't argue with Lee's goals, but maybe his impact in games hasn't been as much over the last couple of weeks. Maybe you shake that up. Maybe you bring Jordan in. I, for one, would like to see that. Secondly, Fletcher. So I sort of described him as the Uber Paskin on Twitter, and what I mean by that is there was a player probably about 30 years ago now called John Paskin. He was a South African fellow we got on loan. Well, no, we got from Wolves, and he was brilliant off the bench. He could come on with 15 minutes to go, and he could change a game. And this Fletcher reminds me of him. They even look similar, sort of like big beast of a guy with facial hair and long sort of black locks. Fletcher has all the touch, all the skill. He just absolutely. Why, Tim? Why are you laughing?
Can't wait to put a side-by-side comparison of John Paskin and Stephen Fletcher when they look absolutely fuck all alike. One's got a massive porn-star moustache and from South Africa. One, consequently, we can overlook this fact, was born in Shrewsbury. but as a
What?
big hand Scottish
Oh,
back.
well, that's ruined it.
Yeah, it's true. He
No,
was
look,
born.
but you know what I mean. It's like he was known as super sub. Like there's people who post on Red Passion as super sub, and they only mean one man, John Paskin, the guy who could come on and change a game. I don't think Fletcher is fit enough to do in 90 minutes, but I love the fact that we've got 5 subs, and what that allows us to do is put on Palmer there to absolutely wear down attritionally the opposition for 60 minutes, 70 minutes, and then you bring on Fletcher, who can do the same job, but has got a little bit more touches, and for a tired defence, can really make a difference. And I think I've always thought that with the squad that we have, being able to make 5 substitutes is really plays into our hands. And I think as the season goes on, the quality that we've got from the bench will really start to tell on teams.
Yeah, certainly feels like at the moment we've got a lot of options coming off the bench to change games. I mean, that's the good stuff. Oh, one more good thing. Aaron, great league debut for Aaron James. What do you think, Tim?
Yeah, he got a bit of heat on Twitter, which pissed me off. I'll be honest, because he didn't deserve it. And I think what a lot of people forget is that he's a centre back being deployed in a right wing role position, so it was always going to be slightly unnatural. But I think on the whole, he acquitted himself really well. He can't be attributed to any fault with the goals. Those are the faults of other players in that side, not him. I like the look of him. Where he was always looking for it. He was really hugging the touchline, and he was like gesturing to his head and to say, "Look, Arthur, stick it on my noggin. I'm going to try and flick it on for somebody." So he was trying to get the attacks going and set up, and that's what you want. And it just ties in with what's going on now, really, in that we want young players coming through. Wrexham just announced the appointment of Andy Lowe as the academy manager, and Fleur Robinson's quoted in the article as saying as they basically want to try and get more young players through, and sort of the ambitions of building an infrastructure of nurturing North Wales' finest talents. So that kind of goes hand in hand with that, really, with Aaron James, one of hopefully many coming through the ranks, and hopefully putting the club on an upward trajectory in terms of that old classic production line that we had under the sort of Brian Flynn era. So well done to Aaron James in that debut, and hope it's more of many to come this season.
There's got to be a pathway there. Has to be a pathway, because if you're a dad who's of a promising player now, the options still are really go to Everton, go to Liverpool, go to United, try your luck there. But you've got the feel good factor of this club, and if you can then see that they're getting a first team place and the exposure, and Phil Parkinson is using them, then Wrexham all of a sudden becomes the number one attraction for North Wales players. And, if this club is going to grow beyond even Ryan and Rob's money and the investment they put in, then a good youth system is absolutely vital. And wouldn't it be great to lose players like, I don't know, that Nathan Broadhead is a classic example, isn't he? I mean, he's a North Walian lad who went to Everton. Wouldn't it be great if we were bringing him through? And why can't we now?
Yeah, absolutely, really positive. Don't want to dwell on the negative, but Andy, just quickly on the goals we conceded. Seemed like we had
nice one.
Win.
Thanks.
We did win, but it seemed like we'd sort of solidified and had a couple of clean sheets. What anything obvious you think still to be concerned about with the defence?
I think we were a lot more compact at Crawley, and it was the same sort of personnel. I just think at home, and I know I keep banging on about this, we play our wing backs really, really high. I think they were a little bit more compact away from home, but at home it's an expansive front foot game, and it leaves spaces. And I think we're still in a situation where our centre backs are splitting a little bit too much, leaving space that teams can run onto. And a lot of people said that Evans had a so-so game on Saturday. There was a lot of space he had to cover. I felt a little bit for him. He was like coming back, having to plug gaps, then get the ball and push us forward. It's a lot of work for a defensive mid.
Andy, can you get up to Wrexham tomorrow to get to the training ground and tell Parky this? It's not good enough.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to get elastic bands and I'm going to tie them to each of the 3 centre halves and make them move in unison.
There we go. What could go wrong?
That's what's going to happen.
There we go.
Defensive coach Andy Gilpin. I played 4 games at left back for Johnstown Youth, so I obviously know what I'm doing.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Tim, Paul Mullin, captain. Thoughts?
Yeah.
Doing well?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, played to his captain, 1-2, leads from the front, leads by example. And we know he's more than just about goals, Nobody's really batting an eyelid that he hasn't scored many since coming back into the side. But, that's a hefty injury. And we've probably seen him earlier in the squad than we all anticipated. So, yeah, I just think it's kind of natural because obviously Luke Young's kind of being used sporadically by Parker. He's not really getting a run of games again. Obviously, Toes has been rested. So yeah, I think it's natural for him to sort of have the armband. He's obviously got the respect of the rest of the lads. He does a lot, not just his overall, forward play, but the amount of times I've seen him come back doing the defensive work and picking up the ball, sort of midfield area. It's crazy. So well deserved, and played 2-1-2 under Captain Mullin. Take that all day long, to be honest.
Yeah, great to see. Let's hope that he can keep leading the line and leading the team like that. And the contract extension as well. More club news for Jimmy Jones, JJ. Well
Jimmy
deserved.
Jones? No one's
Jimmy
called. He
Jones.
sounds like a NASCAR racer.
I want to make Jimmy Jones happen.
Is he a clutch player?
Right. Just one thing on Mullin. He's still playing with broken ribs, so he's not 100% yet. Still, I don't think anyway.
Cheers, doctor.
Yeah. Well, okay. Yeah, I'll get. I tell you what. I'll sort that defense, and I'll pop in the physio's room as well tomorrow. Yeah.
While you're at it, grow a John Paskin moustache so you can look like
I
Stephen
thought I had. This is the best as I can do. Right. James Jones. Right. I remember when I was covering Liverpool, probably about 10, 15 years ago, Dirk Kuyt. Now, everyone got on Dirk Kuyt's back thinking he's not good enough for Liverpool. What's he do? He doesn't score goals. He doesn't seem to have the ball much. He's not grabbing it and going past four people. And I sort of thought, you can't really judge Dirk Kuyt until you see him live. And then you see all the runs he does and all the things he does that you don't pick up on the telly. And I think James Jones is like that. I think, okay, he might not be your all-conquering, sort of playmaker, but what he does, he makes the runs to sort of screen people. He tries to get, he makes the runs to get the ball back. He also makes runs to open up space for other people when we're attacking. He does so much work. I think he's like our battery. He's a vital cog in that midfield. And I think we would all have him as one of the three in the midfield at the moment.
Well said. Keep it up, Jimmy Jones, JJ. Tim as well. A couple more notes before we got from our couple more topics, I should say, before we're joined by our very special guest this week. Tim, Jordan Tunnicliffe back in the side midweek in the EFL Trophy win at Crewe. He's going to be pushing for a first team start soon, isn't he?
Yeah, I just think now seems a good time to do it. To me, he's still probably the most well-rounded defender on his day. Hard as nails. Obviously, we know he sticks his head in where it's going to be painful. And I just like the idea of having him, Hayden, and O'Connell together in that back three. Yeah, I don't know what it is. I just think it'll bring a bit more steel to proceedings. And yeah, the goals again on Saturday, such a messy nature. They're all over the shop. So I'm not saying Tunnicliffe would remedy all of it. I just there's just an air of just unwavering confidence about him every time he plays. I never seem to worry when he's in that back line. I just think it just gives an air of supreme confidence. So yeah, I think he's knocking on the door now. I think Parky's nurtured him back into the squad and managed the injury issues he's had very, very carefully. So I would not be at all surprised to see him start at Bradford, in all honesty.
Yeah, let's see. Now, in addition to the minute silence, Tim, before the game for the lives lost in the Israel-Palestine conflict, there was a perfect minute of applause too, wasn't there, for Wrexham fan El Aldrin-Owen?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we've had a lot of sort of tragic losses recently, but Alan was only like 21 months old. There was some sort of complications with surgery. I can't remember the condition she was suffering from. It's like a brain issue, and so yeah, to pass away 21 months old is horrible. It's horrible. So, kind of our thoughts are with her family and friends. And I don't think they were at the game on Saturday, from my understanding, having read the articles. But obviously, 28th minute, because she was born on 28th of, I think it might have been December 2021. So, 28th minute, everybody stood and applauded. It was a lovely touch for her. So hopefully that'll give the family of Eleanor a little bit of solace and just a bit of support, really. So just another example again of our fans being a class above, really, and sort of coming together for other sort of people in the Wrexham family that need to be rallied around, really, in this sort of time of need. So rest in peace to her.
Absolutely, and all of our thoughts are with Eleanor's family, certainly at this time. There was a great win for Wrexham women, bouncing back from their loss to Cardiff as well, with a ridiculous scoreline, to be honest, against Pwllheli, 13-0 in the Bute Energy Welsh Cup, with Ava Suckley grabbing a double hat-trick. Don't see many of those these days.
No.
We also had, just really quickly, gents, before we get from our speak with our special guest, FA Cup first round draw, Mansfield away. Not ideal.
No, it's a bit underwhelming. You kind of want to have a team from another division, don't you? Whether it's a team above or a team below, just something that's not in the same. It's always going to be underwhelming when it's aside from the same division, especially one that you only played less than 2 weeks ago, and who still remain unbeaten as it stands at the time of this going out. So tough draw. Yeah, one of those.
Still magic of the FA Cup, which, as we saw in the latest episode of Welcome to Wrexham, which I think we can firmly say was the best, lads.
I'd say,
definitely,
not just because we were in it, but mainly because we were in it.
Fleetingly. Well, where have you got your agent yet?
I already have one.
Okay, yeah.
No, I don't.
Of course.
Andy's got a voice agent now.
He'll be voicing Paddington Bear 3 now.
Don't let Mark Griffiths hear you say you're the voice of Wrexham.
Oh, no, I'm not. I've teased the voice.
One thing I was going to say, though, interestingly enough, a few comments on the last podcast. We had a bit of maybe I woke up at the wrong side of the bed. I had a bit of a whinge about that Sean Harvey's holiday episode. Quite a few comments saying they enjoyed it. And interestingly, as well, a few of my mates, not Wrexham fans who've been watching the documentary, also said they enjoyed it. So maybe, we've got to accept, we've got to understand, and I need to understand better, maybe, the different demographics that the documentary makers are trying to target. And, we've sometimes as Wrexham fans just want to see the dressing room. But, as Tim was saying last week, it's important to get the comedic element of it as well. And there was loads of football content in the last episode, which was really good, wasn't it?
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed it. Really shone a light on. I just brought up so many great memories of that cup run.
I was grinning the whole episode.
If you forget how good it was, I mean, Coventry away was absolutely brilliant. Topped off by the fact that I got out of that car park before anyone else. So I wasn't stuck there for an extra 40 minutes. But, I don't like to pat myself on the back. Loved it. That's exactly what I wanted a doc to be. And I know, you're right. We can't have it exactly how we want, because as we keep saying, it's not just for us. But really, really enjoyed that episode. And I enjoyed the women's one before. So two great ones in a row.
Do you reckon Billy Sharp's watched it?
No.
Anyway, time now to hear, for our special guest this week to join us. He is going to be a familiar face to many, many Wrexham fans from a couple of very key seasons. Here he is. I'm hoping that Nat can hear us. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yes, all good.
Loud and clear. Time, I think, for Andy to do one of his famous introductions. We're recording as we are, Nat. Okay, so here we go.
Yeah, Joey Jones once said that left-sided centre-backs are as rare as rocking horse shit. Well, how rare is a left-sided centre-back converted from a winger? How rare is a left-sided centre-back converted from a winger who then go on to have stellar careers in the game, being first choice wherever they go? 77 games for a great Wrexham side, championship with Peterborough. Shrewsbury, boo, we won't mention that much. And Saturday's opponents, Bradford, amongst others. Everyone you speak to says he's a model pro. So let's find out how, in the words of Mike Crichton, a piss-poor winger became the most classy centre-backs many of us can remember. Welcome, Nat Knight-Percival. How are you, mate?
I'm very good, thank you. That's one heck of an introduction, isn't it?
Right. Before we get into it, can we firstly talk about the name? This must be the most chivalrous name in football. Nathaniel Knight-Percival. What gallantry is there? I mean, take us through this. Where did this come from?
It is literally. It is only. It's just my mum. My mum's name, and my dad's name. That's all it is. My mum.
Wow.
Yeah, my mum's a Knight. My dad's a Percival. Put them together.
Wow. Even the Nathaniel works with it as well. It's like a name for. You should be at the round table, mate.
Well, I feel like they just really wanted me just to struggle with all my writing and stuff when I was a kid, something along those lines, because it must have been a real challenge when I was learning to write, surely.
Well, yeah, absolutely. But also, just think of all the extra money you made Wrexham and all your clubs with the Knight-Percival on the back. It's about 10 quid a letter, isn't it?
Yeah, you'd like to think that, but I can't imagine there'd be many people getting it on the back.
Behave. Right, if you've got
Andy's got 3 shirts with your name on it. He's just too modest to tell you.
Yeah, if anyone listening has got a Nathaniel Knight-Percival shirt, let us know. Send in a picture for next episode. Right, before we get into your Wrexham career, let's just start about the start basically. How did a lad from Enfield end up at Histon?
Well, I was born in London. I lived there for sort of only a few years of like when I was literally a kid, and then moved to Cambridge when I was about 6 years old or so. Grew up sort of around sort of the in Cambridge city centre, and Histon was pretty much my local team at the time, and it kind of, I don't know, I think it was just a case of me just playing football for fun for the younger teams and the youth team and stuff there. And then they kind of said to me, "Oh, would you be interested in playing for the reserve team?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course, yeah." Played for some games for the reserve team, enjoyed it a lot. And then after a while, sort of when I was sort of 16, 17 years of age, they asked me to play for the first team when I was still studying at college. And then it kind of just, I mean, I can carry on if you want me to keep going.
Well, I mean, look, there's so many interesting things about Histon because it was a club that came from nowhere. It got to non-league. It got to the very pinnacle of non-league. Now, John Beck was involved, wasn't he?
Yeah. So when I was, I think him and the gaffer at the time, Steve Fallon, were both there, and they obviously watched the reserve games. And I was playing for them at, I think, probably about 16 years of age. And then they asked me to train with the first team about 17, I think it was. And they're in the Southern Prem, which was 2 leagues below the conference at the time. And I was basically playing left back for them. I was playing sort of left back and left wing at the time for the youth team, and they put me in at left back for the first team. And I played a few games at the sort of in the second half of the season when I was 17, and then we got promoted that season to the Conference South, and then from there we had one season in the Conference South where we got to the playoffs but lost that first season, and then and I was sort of in and out of the team in that year. And the season after, I think I played pretty much every game where we won the league, the Conference South, by a fair margin, I remember. And I was playing left wing pretty much every game. It was sort of a case of me being moved to left wing for a John Bell kind of game where it was a case of the keeper kicking it long onto the left side, and I would just head it and flick it down the line, and we played it was very direct style football, if you can remember, kind of back then, the kind of like, Stevenage, how they...
Yeah.
I think we're losing that, aren't we? I was saying his face froze.
Yeah.
and I think he's finally gone. So maybe if you send him a message, Andy, we'll try and get Nat to reconnect with us. But what a great start to a guest interview. But,
yeah. So much more to ask him. I think he might
here
be
he
coming
comes.
back in.
He's
Here
back.
he is. Here he is. You're back, mate.
There we go.
Oh yeah. So, can you hear us again?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Nice.
I don't know where.
Right. No, you got to the promotion, but we're going to get on to how you signed for Wrexham. Firstly, you used to work in a car factory. Is that true?
Yes, yeah. We just used to sort of just fit electronic stuff to cars. So like, back in the day when you wouldn't have sort of your Bluetooth things installed in your cars, I would be one of the people who would install those things. Tow bars, could fit a great tow bar. Parking sensors. If you want parking sensors, I'm your guy. Everything, do all stuff like that. Yeah.
Any particular brand? What was the make?
Of what?
Yeah, of car. Or was it just
Cars?
any car?
No, any car. Any car, yeah.
You could be sporting a tow bar fitted by this man. Right. Let's sort of get to the Wrexham sort of stage. So obviously, you came up with Histon. You'd obviously made an impression. Dean Saunders wanted to lower the average age of the squad, so he looked for you. I mean, how did he get you? There's so many sort of Saunders stories about how he's sort of got players. Getting salt and pepper shakers out at a motorcycle service station seems to be one of his big tricks. Did he do that at all? Did he meet you on the M62?
I think I remember going to Collier's Park to meet him, but I don't even really know fully how I came about signing. I think it was our manager at the time, because the last season for Histon was kind of like loads of people had left. We had a new manager, and the manager was a man named Alan Lua at the time. Right, I think he had some sort of connection to Dean Saunders, and obviously the gaffer then obviously wanted to sign me. So I think he's spoken to him, and they've somehow managed to get it that I would go across there to sign. And I was sort of a bit unsure at first of signing, because it was the first time I was going to move away from home.
Yeah.
And live on my own. So I was sort of a little bit worried about it. But then I kind of had the realization where I was like, if it all goes horribly wrong, I'll just move back to my mum's house. It is that bad. So I thought I'll give it a go. I can't lose anything here. So yeah, I drove up to Collier's Park, and met the gaffer in his office, and he was just very complimentary, really, and just explaining what he wanted to do, kind of going forward, how he wanted to play, who signing the players who we had already, how the experience there could kind of help me learn stuff, how he could teach me stuff, being a striker, etc. Obviously, that was absolutely useless in the end, but yeah.
Right. What I was going to ask you about this. So you were about 20, 21 at the time, I think?
I think I was 22 or 23, I think, actually. Okay. Yeah.
But you hadn't moved away from your mum's. How does a lad that young move away to North Wales? Did you live in the infamous house?
No, I did. So at the time, so I was actually dating a girl who lived in Liverpool. She was from Liverpool, but her family, but she was studying in London. So we kind of moved to Liverpool, and I was in the car school with Jay Harris, Neil Ashton, Johnny Hunt. I think they were the people. They were like the car school people. So I had like some proper scouts. So obviously, like me being like from South, and these proper three Scousers, I was just like, half the stuff they're saying I couldn't understand. I was just constantly asking them to repeat themselves. I think they probably got sick of me, but I think I probably started picking up a bit of a twang at some point as well.
I mean, everyone says you're a real sensible goody two shoes. I mean, is that because you've had like a life outside of football before you came into it?
Maybe. I think I've always been quite sensible. I think I'd always I'd say I'm probably a bit of an introvert anyway. Like in terms of most people, I think when I'm at football, I'm probably complete opposite. But the rest of the time, I'm probably quite an introverted person. So I don't really like go to. I think it would have been, especially as it was my first time playing full-time football as well.
Yeah.
I remember going in on like the first few days, and I was so nervous anyway.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I've never been in that environment before, where there were people who'd obviously just used to training as and when, like every day sort of thing. Whereas I was used to sort of training a Tuesday and a Thursday evening and working the rest of the day. So it was just a completely different environment for me, really.
Yeah. I mean, even though you were sort of going into full-time football, you know, you had a job and you were getting paid by Histon as well. Did you actually have to take a pay cut to come to Wrexham?
I figured it out. It was actually pretty much exactly the same.
Right.
So
Okay.
I think that's why I decided to do it, because the amount I was getting paid at Histon plus the amount that I was getting from my job, they were pretty much the same. I think I can't even remember. It's probably about £50 either way, but I can't even remember which one. I did all the figuring out first because I didn't want to.
That's how sensible you are, Nat. You're just a sensible lad, aren't you? You see, I'd love you to fit my tow bar because you're not going to fuck it up, are you? You're absolutely going to think about it.
I'd like to think so. What car have you got?
I got an Audi A3, but yeah. Can you do an Audi A3?
Yeah.
You've got an Audi A3. How are we just learning this?
Why? It's Amber's. I just borrowed it.
Oh, even worse.
Oh, it's mate, it's 15 years old. It's diesel.
Oh,
but because
every Audi driver says that. They always go, "Oh, it's just an old banger." Yeah.
Well, it is an old banger, and I'll tell you what, the ULEZ is killing me. So
I was going to say ULEZ and finance to the hilt, probably.
No, it's not finance. She paid for it straight off. Can we stop going in? Matt's here, and we're talking about.
Andy's a kept man.
A kept man with a 15-year-old Audi A3.
Paid you off in one go. You just said that's a kept man.
Right. Can we get back to this bloody?
Yeah, go on then.
Chat, please. Right. Okay. Averaging about 11 goals a season at Histon. Obviously, Saunders has seen something in you. I want to talk about regains now.
Yeah.
Because basically, we had Dean Saunders on a couple of months ago, and I mentioned you because it was obviously, and we'll get on to more about how you converted to a centre half later. But I mentioned you, and he just looked at us and went, "Regains," and I went, "What?" And he goes, "Right, I'm going to tell." He said, I'm a football manager. I've been in the game for ages, and I didn't know anything about regains. But Nat came across and told me what a regain it was and why he was scoring so many goals. Now, do you want me to try and explain it, or do you want to explain it?
I mean, I could kind of explain it. So,
take us through a regain.
Because I remember the gaffer bringing me into his office and asking me, he's sort of like, how do you score? He sort of said to me, how did you score all these goals in your career from left wing? And I was just like, well, it was kind of like, it was a thing John Beck used to call it. He used to call it regain. So what we would do, we'd sort of have a setup for example, like a long throw into the box.
Yeah.
We'd throw it into the box. And there'd be people obviously waiting to try and score the goal, but we would have sort of a setup, obviously, that if it got headed back out, it would only go to a certain area of the pitch where it would go. And then it was already pre-designed that if those people got the ball, they would just clip it to the back post, where if the people who were trying to flick on the first flick on from the throw-in, you would make a new run all the way around the back stick and try and head it in from there. Right. So that was sort of like, and that was like the regain kind of part of it. So I don't know how Dean Saunders told it, but that was pretty much what happened. And it would be the same thing from corners, free kicks as well, where we were very sort of regimented and very like everyone knew what they were doing. You knew what your job was in the team, sort of thing.
Reece, Tim, did you get that? Do you know what a regain is?
I thought it was some sort of like tablet to help you with your headaches, to be honest. But no, I think
that explanation made sense to me. That explanation made sense. I see what you mean.
I remember telling the story, and I told obviously the gaffer that, and then the gaffer would tell everyone it on the training ground, and then everyone was having a go at me, shouting about things sort of like hair growth tablets and things like that. And I was like, guys, this is not what this is. It's a good tactic that's going to get us goals. Trying to convince them, but.
So Saunders said that what you used to do at Histon, and this might be wrong. He talked about the throwing thing, but he said that you deliberately did a corner to the like, there's nothing that annoys me more than a corner that doesn't go past the first man. And apparently he said that you used to hit the first man on purpose, so they'd head it out. Then you would rush that, clip it back in, and then you would sneak in on the other side of the goal and nod it in.
Is kind of along those lines. I mean, we weren't deliberately hitting the front post, but it was sort of, if it were to go there by accident, then we'd have people set up for it to go back in. We weren't deliberately is probably a little bit wrong, but right, sort of along those lines.
And Dean also said that we tried it at Wrexham. Did it ever work?
It might have done a couple of times. I don't remember fully trying it out that we had set it up properly. I mean, you need the Sergeant John Beckin to kind of talk you through it to be able to get everyone going.
I'm gonna hand you over to Reese in a second, but you've got to have a John Beck story. Everyone's got a John Beck story. Did you ever fight him?
I never fought him. I was a kid at the time, but I do remember one specific story. I think it was kind of like half time of a game. I don't think the games are even important, but I'd been doing all right in the game, and then one of the senior lads had come in. He started shouting, so it's like shouting at me, like having a go at me, like saying, "You need to do this, you need to do this." And as a young lad, I was sort of like just sitting there, just like like just taking it kind of thing. And then how are we with expletives? Can I swear on this?
Go for it.
Don't say the C word, but I think the rest you're all right with.
Yeah, it's not the C word.
Knowing John Beck, it could be the C word. That's the only thing I'm saying.
But he basically he was standing in the corner just listening to it all, and then he started his team talk, and then he ended it, and he turned and he looked at me, and I thought, oh no, and he shouted, this is at the top of his voice, says, "When are you gonna tell him," the guy who's having a go at me, "to fuck off?" And I was just in shock. I sat there, moved back a little bit, folded my arms. I just went so quiet. I was so embarrassed. I didn't say a word. And I was just like, oh my God. Like honestly, the man he scared me. He really scared me. But he was a really good coach. He was kind of ahead of his time, but some of the stuff that you'd see him doing was absolutely hilarious. We used to do in pre-season, obviously we were training in the evenings, it'd be getting dark, and we'd be running around the pitch, but we couldn't see where we were. We didn't have any floodlights either. So he brought his car, he parked it on the halfway line, shone the lights across the middle of the pitch. So that was the only bits you could see. We'd be running around. So you'd be running in darkness behind the goal, coming back round into the light on the halfway line, darkness behind the next goal, back into the light. He'd have the doors open on his car, blasting out like some old sort of like 60s music, and you'd just be running. We'd just be running in pitch black. The majority of the time, everyone was like, what the hell are we doing, sort of thing. Like, this is craziness. But we were a very fit team, thanks to him for it. But it was some of the ways that you got us fit were. And
you weren't afraid of the dark.
Yeah, well, you couldn't be. You had no choice. It was that or
I'm wondering that with the regain stuff that you brought that to Wrexham almost. Did Saunders? Did you always have that kind of tactical? You like to be involved in the sort of tactical element of the game as a player, sort of contributing stuff. And did Saunders sort of like that and encourage that in players?
I think so. He was very much sort of. He wasn't one just to kind of just sit there and just be like, everything I do is the right thing. He was very happy to obviously listen to people with new ideas, and you can I think you can learn something from everyone. I think regardless of your age, sort of thing. Because I think I was probably only a kid at the time, but obviously we had experienced players in the team that year, and there were and I'm sure he would have taken a lot of advice from them throughout the season. So I think he was probably just asking me some questions, just sort of, how did I score these goals? And because he had me in his office a couple of times, and one time he was sort of just because I'd never really been sort of trained, you know, like at a proper youth team level. I was doing a youth team where it was one night a week and one game a week. So I didn't have sort of that intensive youth program that loads of the other players had. And he was basically just had me in the office, and he was like, you need to use your arms more. He's explaining to me, you need to use your arms more, use your body more. He's like, try and get this ball off me. And he had this little softball in the middle of his office. And he'd just stand there and he'd go, try and get it. Go on, try and get it off me. And I was there like, what, try and get the ball off you right now? And he's like, yeah, go on, try and get it. And so I go over to try and get it. And he just go back, stick his arm out. And I was like trying to like poke my toe through his legs to get it. And then he'd go, see, you can't get it, can you? And then he'd go, go on, keep trying to get it. And he'd just keep moving his arm. And he's like, see, you got to use your arm more. So in the end, it was literally Brian Kerry watching in the corner at his desk, the gaffer in the middle of the office, and me trying to poke the ball off him while he's got his arms out like this, trying to keep me away from the ball. I'm trying to poke it from in between his legs and stuff. But he was honestly, he was such a character. Some of the stuff that he said, I can't remember half of them, but honestly, it's just such an interesting man to be around.
Unorthodox methods, I think some might call them. But Dino obviously signed you from Histon. It was actually right at the end of the 2009-2010 season. You talked about, it was your first sort of foray into full-time professional football. You're going into a dressing room with some really sort of experienced, established players like Dean Keats. What was that like? It was
really, I found it really nerve-wracking. Like the first few days, just really nerve-wracking. I remember, because we had Frank Sinclair there as well, who obviously I knew who he was. There's Gaz Taylor as well, Dean Keats. But then obviously all these players were just like, I was just like a tall, like beanpole kind of thing at the time. And all these people just seemed so sort of mature and so confident in themselves, sort of thing. And I was just really nervous when I remember the first few training sessions we had, like we were doing a few sort of like, I remember it was in pre-season, we were doing sort of running, and I was sort of like, okay, I know I'll be okay here because I've done this for the last 5 years constantly, and I would kind of win all that, and I could kind of get a bit of kudos from the other players just from being able to run to begin with, because I knew technically I wasn't as good as the other players really to begin with. So it was just nerve-wracking. I knew I had a lot of work to do as well, sort of just trying to get better. So I would spend, extra time trying to just figure out how to slot into full-time football, and figure out by like when I could do my extra training and things like that, because I'd never even had the opportunity to be able to do extra training with a different coach or something like that. So it was tricky to begin with, but I felt like I'd kind of slowly found my feet. Yeah.
Who were the fit ones in that team in pre-season? Who were like the really fit ones?
Johnny Hunt, I remember him being near the front. Jay Harris, Mangy, no.
Yeah, who I was going to say, who were the unfit ones?
Chris Blackburn, I think he was quite fit. Actually, he could run quite well. Curtis Obeng was.
Yeah.
Trying to think who else. I can remember the ones who weren't, because I remember Frank Sinclair, all the older lads who are kind of near the back. Frank Sinclair and Gaz Taylor just slowly coming around the back.
Yeah, that makes sense. I found a quote from when you first signed from Dean Saunders, and he said, he's brave, he puts his head in, and from a technical point of view, I've got something to work with, so I think he will improve. All that remains to be seen is how he copes with full-time training, but I don't see that as a major problem. Seems like you managed to cope then.
Yeah, I'd say I did. I mean, I just kind of just took it as just a massive bonus. I was just playing football every day as a job, so I was just sort of like, this isn't difficult. This is how hard could it be? Come on. I used to work sort of like 8 till 5, and then go straight from training to football. Do football, get home, have food, go to sleep, do it, and then have a full day sort of thing working. So it wasn't, I didn't find it difficult in the sense of being tired or anything like that. It was just kind of mentally you getting used to training in the mornings and just kind of just being around sort of full-time professional football players kind of thing, like, and seeing how they kind of conduct themselves on day-to-day basis, kind of thing. And I just tried to kind of pick up as much as I could from people there at the time, and just kind of, I think definitely it helped that I had the car school of people who had been in the professional game for a while. I think that helped a lot, because I think if I was driving in on my own and didn't have anyone to kind of speak to, bounce ideas off, or like get an idea of what other people are thinking, then I think it would have been a lot harder for me.
Yeah. Tell us about Dean Saunders' five-a-sides in training. They're pretty infamous, competitive. There were prizes involved. What was it?
Oh,
like?
the old be young on a Friday.
Yeah.
They were good. So I remember, I feel like we were, because I know the first year I was in the young team the whole way, and in that I actually played at centre back, because we had so many strikers and things like that. I was like, I've played left back. I'm happy to play in defence here. And the gaffer, he would. I remember at the beginning he used to play. So I would be sort of like left centre back or left of a three kind of thing if we played like three players on the young team, and the gaffer would play right wing to begin with. And I used to play directly up against him. Now I remember him saying in his post-match interviews in the dining room afterwards, how he would specifically say Saunders had a tough time against Knight-Percival, couldn't get any shots away. He would say things like this in his post-match thing, like review of the game. And he'd might rate everyone out of 10 as well, which is always quite humorous actually for everyone.
What did he rate himself out of 10?
If you're on the winning team, you used to get sort of your 7s, your 8s, and your 9s. If you're on the losing team, you'd be 4s, 5s, 6s, unless you were Dean Saunders or Brian Kerry, who tended to get around at 8, and with a kind of a and then he'd also put on the end of their specific performance, they'd put carried the old team, something along those lines, which was always quite funny. I always found it quite funny anyway.
Now, what was it like when Mark Crichton walked through the door? Because he was a pretty key player for us for many seasons then.
Yeah, because I'd played against him quite a few times before, obviously. Him playing, was he at Oxford? Was it at Oxford before he signed? Yeah, and I remember playing against him quite a lot, and I was fully aware who he was, and because he didn't sign in the first year, I say he signed the second year, didn't he? So he was in the 20. I want to say.
I think
he came in. Yeah, he came in midway through the first season, I think.
Oh, was it midway through?
Yeah. He wasn't there for pre-season, but I think we got him from Oxford. Yeah, I think it was probably about 3 or 4 months into the season.
Oh, okay, yeah. Because I can't specifically remember him signing then, but I just remember the year after, because that was when I started playing centre back, and obviously playing with him, I was sort of like, it was like the perfect person to play with, because I knew I was good in the air, but I wasn't big and strong and as dominant as he was. He was an absolute man mountain. And he basically just headed everything, and I would just happily cover him behind all the time. They'd started kicking on me a little bit, so I had to kind of improve my game in that sense a little bit as well. But I feel like we had the kind of a really good partnership and a good balance and mixture of everything that you kind of need in a pair of centre halves at the time.
And obviously that season, so the first season, before you moved to centre back, I believe, but we had a pretty good season, of course, just missing out to Luton. I mean, what do you remember about sort of the end of that season, and how was the squad tight? Was it getting tighter?
Yeah. We had a good squad actually. We did have a really good squad, and there's good cohesion, but I think it was always going to be very difficult. I think we only just got into the playoffs really that season. So I think playing against Luton, I think felt like we knew we had a hard game anyway. We were coming towards obviously the crucial part of the season, and we knew playing Luton was always going to be difficult, and we played them at home first, didn't we? And I think I started that game, and I think I was playing right of a front three, or I came on at like up front on the right hand side.
Hold on, I'll tell you. Yeah, you started with
and
Mangan and Gaz Taylor up front.
Yeah, that was it. Manga was playing on the left, Gaz was in the middle, and I was on the right. And it was just as madness. I think that season I played every position apart from centre half. I think I remember playing left of a front three, in the middle, on the right. I played holding midfield as well. I played in the midfield three as well. So I think he was just really trying to find like where my position was at that time. But yeah.
No, yeah, it was a bit beyond us that season. But obviously what could have been, what might have been that sort of away game when we obviously scored the early goal and then got the penalty that was saved. Were you starting then? I can't remember.
No, I didn't start the second game. I remember being on the bench there. I can't even remember if I came on, to be honest. I don't think I did.
Got dropped after being right-sided striker. I mean, I don't know what he was expecting.
I remember I did barely anything that game. I was trying so hard to get into the game as well, but it was just I felt I was so out of. I'd never played on the right-hand side really of the pitch at all, so I felt so uncomfortable there anyway. And I was just trying to do anything I could to get into it, just trying to head balls, tackle people, run around, but I just couldn't get into the game.
We were blown away, weren't we? To be fair, it wasn't meant to be. But
just in the first half, I think.
Yeah, first 20 or 30 minutes, I think, wasn't it? Yeah. Last one from me. You were called the teacher's pet. When you were at Wrexham. Were you ever fined? Was there ever a fine system going on?
Right. His name rhymes with Mandy Arel. Oh God, that was. I mean, I should have come up with something better than that, but best I could come up with.
Mandy Oral. Wow.
Oh, Mozza. I liked Mozza as well. Not now. Mozza was brilliant. No, I think I've always been sort of quite. I think in every team I've been, I think everyone will say the same things. I'm very sort of like, just like what the gaffer says goes. I'll stick with it, and I'll just follow what they're saying. Just do the best that I can for the team and what the gaffer asks of me in teams. I think I've just been very sort of. I think since being with John Beck at such a young age, he's kind of instilled that kind of in me. Whereas like the fear of a manager, a gaffer kind of thing, and it's just gone with me throughout my whole career, and I can't seem to shake it. So
let's come to the whole conversion into this marauding, composed centre back. Obviously, Dean Saunders said you were so good in the air that it was kind of a no-brainer to put you into that sort of centre back position. When did you first become aware of that transition? Did he sit you down and have a conversation with you? Or did you say, look, this is kind of where I'm stronger at? How did that come around?
I remember so it was the season before. I was kind of in and out of the team, and I remember there was we had sort of obviously in the middle of the week you have reserve games and games to kind of keep people fit, little friendlies, things like that in the evenings, and we turned up, I think, to Airbus for a home game against somebody, and he had all the team like lined out and put in place. And I think the gaffer had actually forgotten that I was going to be there, because I came and I wasn't even starting a reserve game. And I was looking, I was like, oh no, this is awful. This is absolutely awful. And then he's noticed me come in, and I've seen him going up, like writing on a piece of paper, speaking to, I think, Gaz Taylor as well at the time. And they were jotting some stuff down, trying to move some things around. They moved a youth team player out, and they were like, I think they kind of made out like, oh, we're going to try you here today because of blah, 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 blah. And they put me at centre half. And I was like, okay, yeah, it's fine. I was just like, I'm happy to be playing. So it's bench. So this is fine. And I played the reserve game, played pretty well, as I can recall playing pretty well. And then I think from then on, in the week, like, so if from that reserve game, I think we probably had about another 4 reserve games throughout the rest of the year, and I played all those other ones centre half, and obviously I was still playing every now and then for the first team as well, and coming on or starting whenever. And then in pre-season, I think I came in I came in and the gaffer was sort of like, we're going to try it at centre half in the pre-season friendlies. How do you feel about that? I was like, yeah, I'll give it a go. See how it goes for me. If it helps me being able to play more games, then yeah, I'm more than happy to do that. So played the first pre-season friendly, played well, and it kind of just rolled from there. I think it was sort of a combination of Gaz Taylor and the gaffer and Brian Kerry I think they all kind of put their heads together and figured it out somehow. And because I'm sure, because I think Gaz Taylor played against me in sort of small-sided games when I was playing centre half in these small-sided games, and he said, and I think he thought that I had something to offer the team there. So it kind of just snowballed from there, and it went into playing pretty much every game of the next season at centre half.
Amazing. So that's the positional tweak. But in terms of that 2011-2012 season, there were personnel tweaks as well. So you had the likes of Jake Spate coming in, Lee Fowler. Did you think at that point, the way the squad was being assembled and that level of expertise coming in, that we had a chance of really making a concerted effort for promotion that season? Did you feel there's something special that he was trying to put together there?
Yeah, I think so, because the players that we were getting were non-league players who everyone was aware of, and people who you were sort of like, this guy's a good player, and you'd know that by what, you know, when we'd sign them, you'd be like, oh, that's a good non-league player. He's scored so many goals for another non-league team, or and you knew their kind of quality before they'd even come in just by their name. And it was a funny one for me, because I remember thinking, oh, look at all these great players. He's in that position. We've got him in that position. He's played for so-and-so. He's played for so-and-so. We've got him in there. And I was like, well, what am I doing here? I don't get why I'm playing. I was always really confused about like how I fit in the team. But I mean, as time grew, I got more confident in myself, because, you know, we started keeping clean sheets. We'd be defending well. We'd be scoring goals. And we just became a really strong team, I think. And the sort of the togetherness that we had as a team, and also sort of the way that we played our football as well, because we weren't just a kick it long into corners kind of team, but we had the options of going long because we had some bigger players, but then we also had the option of passing it and playing it through, because we had Lee Fowler in there as well, he used to say to me, just give me the ball. If you get it anywhere, give me the ball anywhere. And I'd just be like, are you sure? He's like, yeah, honestly, it's absolutely fine. And I give it him, and he just do his little thing on a sixpence, ping one out to the other side of the pitch, and you just be like, yeah. And I just used to think it's just really such a good footballer. He was such a good footballer.
In terms of the players in and around you, I think you've already kind of alluded to it with the likes of Mark Crichton being that sort of breeze block in front of your head and everything away. In terms of the likes of him and Neil Ashton, your sort of, you know, your carpool buddy, were they the sort of players that helped sort of take you under their wing a little bit and help you blossom as a player, give you that confidence to show what you could do?
Yeah, definitely. I think I had I had some good influences around the training ground as well. And Chris Westwood as well, he was one of the biggest people who I found helped me so much in my first season, because obviously he had been brought in to play, which he obviously expected to play, and I had obviously taken his place. But he was so, honestly, he was so helpful to me. He'd be coming to me and just giving me bits of advice, and he'd tell me, oh, you're doing really well. He'd say things, and he'd be telling me about how he thought I was better than certain players who were playing leagues and leagues higher, who he'd played with like a few years ago or whatever. And I completely I feel like being in that position for him must have been really difficult anyway. But the amount of sort of support and encouragement he gave me day to day, I think helped me so much. And then obviously when you have like Kreitz next to you as well, who's talking to me all game and telling me, and then he'll come off the pitch and he'll give me more advice and things like that. And I've got Neil Ashton, who's like just two really experienced players either side of me, is perfect for when you're playing your first season in as centre back.
Yeah. So I mean, that season we started pretty well, but you've got Fleetwood Town not really going away. They're kind of just always in and amongst it, just become a bit of a relentless machine, really. Dean Saunders ends up leaving. Pastures new. What did you make of that? Did it come out of the blue? And did you have an idea of who might take his place? Or did you always think, well, maybe Moz is the natural successor to that?
I think for me, in that, because of the situation, because I hadn't really experienced anything sort of like managers leaving kind of out of the blue and things like this happening in a full-time environment. I think it was just it was just a bit different for me. I didn't really know what had happened. I didn't know what all the inside gossip was, what the reason was for him leaving, where he'd even gone, sort of thing at the beginning. But then obviously when it all came out and you find stuff out, then it was just it was obviously like, you completely understand it. He's gone on to manage a team in a higher division, which you wouldn't begrudge anyone of something like that. So, and I think after that, it was a little bit of sort of speculation who's going to manage it. Because I remember Mozza coming in into the training ground and basically saying, look, just for now, I'm going to take charge of it. And he obviously did a great job. I think the first game, I don't think he played himself that first game, because I think he just felt like he couldn't really watch it from a manager's perspective kind of thing. So it was, and I think he'd been playing consistently up until then as well. So I found that kind of more of a shock that he wasn't playing than him being manager at the time.
That season we had a couple of, one specifically good FA Cup run. What was your favourite one? Because there was obviously Brentford away, where Amy Tolley pops up with that late winner.
Oh, yeah.
And then you've got Brighton at the Amex, where Chislevitz earns us a share of the spoils and takes it to a replay, which unfortunately went on to lose on penalties. But what was your favourite one out of those two?
Oh, I'd have to say Brighton, because playing at the Amex was a really good experience actually for me, because I hadn't experienced anything like it before. The Brentford one I did really enjoy. I found that game was so difficult though, because I think we went 1-0 up in the first half from that, and I remember Jamie Tolley's strike. It was a great strike, and I just remember them bringing on loads and loads of strikers and just being sort of just battered for like the last 20, 30 minutes. I remember Clayton Donaldson must have elbowed me in the face about 5 times or something, and it was absolutely horrible. But then the Brighton game was just completely different, because they were just obviously a very classy kind of team at the time, and they played very good progressive kind of football, and we played really well. I think they put out a slightly weaker squad in the first game, but I don't think it still had quite a few of their big players still in it. But it was just a really good experience, just being able to go to like a massive stadium and just experiencing something a little bit different, really. We played well that day actually, and Scissors' goal was a great goal, a little jinky run, wasn't it? And just
some crazy scenes in the away end as well.
Yeah, that was brilliant. That was
pretty wild. Talk about when we mentioned Fleetwood. I mean, what did you make of Jamie Vardy at the time? Did you just want to go, oh, this guy needs we need to sort him out. He's knocking him in for fun. Gotta teach him a lesson.
I know, yeah. So I remember the first game we played. We played against him. We played him at home. We beat him. Did we beat him 3? Either is that 2-0 or 3-1 or something like that?
I think it was 2-0. Fowler was brilliant. I can't. Yeah.
Was it? Yeah. And I remember him playing, and I think was there some talk about him before, like when he signed for Fleetwood, I believe, and playing against. And I was like, this guy isn't that good. He's not actually that good. What's all the talk about him for? And then we played them away, and he was unbelievable. And I was like, oh my goodness, this guy is amazing. He was. I just remember him being just. He did what he does still to this day. Just relentless and just ran at you and was just pacey and
surprisingly quick, wasn't he? Like really
just tenacious as well. But he was really, that second game I remember playing him, and he was just really good. And I thought, he's a good player. He's a good cat, him. So it was just yeah.
When you come across something like that, does it immediately plant a bit of a seed of doubt, thinking I've got my work cut out here? We have to double up on him. What we're going to do? Does it immediately put that maybe a little bit of doubt in your head, thinking, how am I going to cope with this guy?
Yeah, a little bit. I think because they're kind of playing with just the one striker. I think me and Kreitz, we had our work cut out that day when we played them away, but he was just sort of just running into channels and just running everywhere. He was basically trying to run off Kreitz and into that corner. So I was sort of going all the way across the pitch, trying to cover into that corner and feeling a little bit sort of out of position and finding it a little bit tricky out there as well. But it was difficult when you come up against like world-class players. It is difficult because I am not a world-class player, so it's hard. It's hard.
Speaking of players who are impressed, let's go back to one of our own players as well at the time, Curtis Obeng. Obviously, when he left, we feel like that, you know, even now, at the time it felt like it, but even more so in hindsight, that maybe kind of was the moment that kind of the stabilizers were pulled off the bike, so to speak. Is like he was. Do you feel like that was key to us kind of not going up that season because of how good he was?
Possibly, because he was playing really well in that position. He was just such a. We had really good balance in the back four, and we did a lot of work on it. Brian Kerry he would do a lot of work with us as a back four, and so would the gaffer as well. He would have us defending 4v6, 4v7 in training, and you would just literally be screening, running across the box, throwing yourself in front of balls, blocking shots, things like that. But it was great practice for the urgency that we needed when it came to games. We had such great balance with Curtis on the right, him being so quick, and then Kreitz, who would be a little bit slower, and then I used to be quite quick as well, believe it or not, and then Neil Ashton, who wasn't quite as quick. So we had really good balance in the back four, and him being able to get up and down that right hand side was it was really good for us. It was a really good out ball for us, and you knew he'd be able to recover back as well. And I remember when he went, I think there was a lot of talk of trying to get him back on loan. We ended up getting, it was a Daniel Alfie, I believe, instead.
Daniel Alfie from Swansea,
and obviously getting someone back from Swansea was great, and he was a great player. But when you don't have, obviously he hadn't been working with our back four for the previous 6 months or whatever. So there was always going to be a bit of a crossover, a little bit of a bump in the road kind of thing when stuff like that happens.
Yeah. Before I hand it back over to Andy, we always ask our guests on the show for their fearless moment. So it's usually like a moment from your time playing at Wrexham where gave you the most pride, or whether that's signing, whether that's a goal, whether it's playing at Brighton. Is there anything that really stands out for you as a key highlight from your time at the club?
That's really difficult, actually, because I enjoyed so much my time at Wrexham, actually, because it was my first experience of playing full-time football. It was my first experience of playing in front of thousands of fans every week. And it wasn't the case of going to just another non-league full-time team who didn't really have much of a fan base or much of a following. It was a case of going to a huge football club with thousands of fans every week, regardless of how you were playing. People turn up to games and they get behind you so well. And I used to love away games as well. Playing away was brilliant because you'd often get so many more supporters than the home team sometimes at games. It was brilliant. But to pick out one is really difficult. I really enjoyed the FA Cup replay against Brighton.
Yeah.
Even though we lost it, it was such under the lights. We were playing against pretty much their full strength 11, and I felt like we went toe to toe with them that day, and I thought we played really well.
Oh, you outplayed them, mate. We were the better side, without a doubt.
Yeah. That's what I actually genuinely remember. And to lose, it was obviously absolutely heartbreaking at the time, but it was that was it. It's like one of those memories that sticks with me, even though not for great reasons because of the result, but because of how well we played, and it kind of showed how good of a team we were, that we go head to head with this championship team and nearly beat them, kind of thing. And to go out on penalties was obviously really, really disappointing. But that was one of the moments which I actually really enjoyed.
Right, Nat, let's get to the end because we don't want to keep you too much longer. I'm just going to do a basic question. Was there ever a chance you would have stayed? What would it have taken you to stay at Wrexham?
That would have been really. I would have loved to have stayed. I think because I had the offers of playing in the league, and this was from sort of, I'd say 16 to 21. I didn't think I was ever going to play professional football in the league, so I don't think I don't think there would have been much that would have got me to stay. And the chance to play championship football, I couldn't turn it down, really.
No, fair enough. I mean, if we'd have got promoted, given you a big bump, a new deal.
I could possibly. That would have actually, if we'd got promoted, then there would have been a slither of a chance that I could have stayed. Yeah. But at the time, Dean Saunders was trying to get me to Doncaster as well, so it was.
What a snake!
I mean, look, you're quite self-defecated, sort of like, you don't really believe
self-defecating.
I stopped myself halfway through there because I couldn't think of the bloody word.
Defecating.
That's it. But thanks for bringing it up, Reece. I thought I got away with that. Right. But what I'm trying to say is, all the way through this, you sort of say, right, I never really thought I'd do this. I never really thought I'd do that. Well, I'll tell you what, to go from non-league all the way to the championship, you've got to have a bit of self-confidence about you to do that. Was there ever what was that step up like?
Oh, say that again. You just cut off a little bit then.
I'm just going to say, like, even though you sort of say that you're quite modest about your career, you must have had a lot of self-confidence to go from non-league to the championship. Or what was that step up like?
Oh yeah. So, I mean, I feel like I've got kind of like a real inner self-confidence. It doesn't come out very often at all. But the step up I found it really difficult. I absolutely loved the challenge though that I had, and it was just another new opportunity for me to kind of go again and kind of see if I could kind of cut it at an even higher level. It was obviously going from conference to the championship. It was extremely difficult, and the quality was so much higher. But it forced me to. The only choice I had was either do absolutely nothing and fall off the edge of the planet, or just try my best and just focus and concentrate and try my hardest to try and get to this kind of level that these guys were at. And if I couldn't do it in one way, then I'd find another way of being able to do it. So if I wasn't the best on the ball, then can I be the best off the ball and try and tackle everyone? Or can I be like, rather than being the guy who gets on the ball all the time, could I be the guy who makes a run off the ball, which gives someone else space to get in off the ball? Or can I block the most shots? Things like that. I just always just thought to myself, if I could just find a way to be the best person, be the best team player, and to be the best player for this team that I could be, then I can make myself valuable to people.
You know what? The reason we brought you on is because we're playing Bradford on Saturday, and we've been on for nearly an hour, and we haven't bloody mentioned Bradford once. Right, give us a quick rundown on Bradford. What was it like to play there? Can we quieten the crowd? Is there any tips that we need to succeed there?
Playing
come on, Agent Knight-Percival, come on, help us.
Playing Bradford City, it'll be a tricky one, I guess, because obviously the Mark Hughes he's been let go recently, and they've had they won the last 3 games, I think, and under the new
McDonald, his name is. You ever play with him?
Yeah, Kevin McDonald.
Kevin McDonald. I haven't played. I think I played against him. I think, but he's. I'm not sure what he's like as a manager or anything, but it's hard going to Bradford City. They've got a huge fan base as well. But if you get them turned, if sometimes, as some fans can be, sometimes if it's not quite going their way, they will turn a little bit on the team. So that could possibly happen if you can get an early goal or just a little bit of pressure towards them and a bit of pressure going towards their cop end. Then you never know.
You know what? I've never been to Valley Parade. I'm really, really looking forward to it. I think we're going to take over a stand. We're going to bring Brighton back, but we're going to do it in.
In fairness, that will be an absolutely amazing atmosphere, because I can already envisage the Wrexham the away stands being absolutely filled anyway. Bradford will bring a lot as well, so it will be
more than 20,000 tickets sold already.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. I can actually imagine that. That's going to be a really good game. Yeah, a really good game.
Tim, do you want to just ask a few questions before we do the quick fire?
Well, yeah, I sort of stumbled across one earlier on, because obviously you're at Kidderminster Harriers, been working under ex-Wrexham player Russell Penn, lovely guy. You're in the company of a couple of ex-Wrexham players, Jerry McDonough, Christian Dibble. No, I was like, wonder how he's been getting on at Kidderminster. Let's see. And one of the first things that popped up was you playing for Kidderminster at Chester in March, where you've got sent off for a second game in a row after clobbering, is it Harry Tyrer, their goalkeeper? Now, all I'm saying is that you can take the boy out of Wrexham, but yeah, that's all I'm kind of saying. But I mean, yeah, did you get any stick? Did you get any stick there from the 20 or so Chester fans?
Yeah, I think I heard a few sort of wayward shouts on the way back through the tunnel after the game, but I mean, we got the last laugh in the end because we got promoted. So who's the real winner?
Exactly,
mate. I can't imagine you being sent off. I can't imagine you going so loco that you're going to lamp someone.
Yeah, no, I've got sort of like it's a kind of bit of an alter ego. You see, when I go into sort of a football mode, I turn into sort of, it's like Jekyll and Hyde kind of thing. It's just
all right.
It can go a little bit. Sometimes it gets a little bit over, so I have to kind of calm myself down a little bit sometimes when I'm playing football. The rest of the time, I'm meek and mild, just chilled out kind of guy. But yeah.
Tim, should I do the quick fire to end?
Yeah, go for it. I just wanted to get the cheeky Chester thing in.
No, you did. Nat, we're going to do a quick fire. 5 questions, whatever first person that comes into your mind. Then we're going to do predictions for Saturday, and then you're free. The podcast is over. So, right. First off, during your time at Wrexham, who did you think was the most skillful?
Lee Fowler.
Yeah. A lot of people of that time say the same thing. Worst dressed.
Worst dressed. I would say, I remember Neil Ashton coming in some pretty horrendous time. Chris Blackburn would be your obvious go-to, but I want to say Neil Ashton, because I remember him wearing some stuff, and I was like, that is some rubbish gear, man. I was like, that is some terrible gear. I do not like it one bit. But I don't know if that's like what Scousers wore or something. But I don't know. I just didn't like it.
Right. I don't think Neil Ashton's ever got that plaudit before, is he?
I saw him quite a lot, so I had an idea of what he was wearing.
Right. The next question, and oh God, you might be the same answer again. Who is the biggest moaner?
Do you know what? There was a lot of moaners in the team. There was a lot. Can I only name one?
No, you can have like a five-a-side moan team.
Okay, I've got Neil Ashton. I've got Jay Harris. I've got Dean Keats.
Right.
Who else I got?
I hesitate to say this as a small man myself, but I'm getting small man syndrome vibes here.
It was massively, honestly. Those three were the smallest, biggest moaners you've ever seen in your life. Honestly.
Small men, big mouths. Right. Who was the most underrated player? Who didn't really get the plaudits they deserved?
Underrated player. I would say I would say, do you know who was really good? I thought when Dean Keats got injured, Joe Clark.
Yeah.
I think he was really underrated at the time because he was obviously on the bench a lot, and then Dean Keats got injured for quite a long period of time, and he came in and he did really well in that position. I think he didn't do much, didn't do lots, but he was just very effective, and I thought he was very underrated because I think everyone else kind of got plaudits for their positions and how they played and stuff like that, but maybe not so much him. And I thought he was just like a kind of a really good player for us at the time.
That's a great
Crazy
shout.
Legs. Yeah, Crazy Legs Clark, he was known, wasn't he? Right. Last one from me. Which player would you least like to fight? Or staff member?
Yeah. Staff member, player. Maybe Mal. He was a tough guy, wasn't he?
Mal Purchase, yeah. Fitness coach.
Big tough guy. But then players, I don't know. I feel like Chris Westwood, he was a pretty tough guy. I feel like he had kind of a bit of an edge, like a nice guy kind of edge, though. Like he was nice, but I think he could really hurt somebody if he wanted to.
The best kind of psycho, nice, rat.
I class myself kind of in that category these days.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The smiling assassin.
Yeah.
All right, guys, should we finish with predictions for Saturday?
Let's do predictions. As already mentioned, massive game Saturday. Probably the best supported team in the league, Bradford, attendance-wise. Great history. There's the Sean Harvey connection as well. Okay. But it's going to be a full house. Valley Parade, great ground. Wrexham away. I'll start us off. I'm gonna back us for a 2-1 win. A late Stephen Fletcher winner, 88th minute. What about you, Andy?
Okay. Right. Right. We're 1-2 on the bounce. But they've been in good form as well. I just think these are the statement games. These are the games where the likes of your James McLean should really come to the fore. They're used to it. They're used to the pressure. We've bought a lot of big name players. This is a big game. I think we're going to win. I think we're going to win 3-1. Tim, am I being nuts? Am I nuts?
Well, and I mean it's bold. It's bold. Yeah, I think they're going to be sticking with Kevin McDonald, their manager. So there shouldn't be any managerial bounce back as it goes. The players have gone on record to say they'd like him to sort of remain in the hot seat. So if they get their wish and there's that continuity, then I think we've got a good chance. I'm going to go with 2-1 because clean sheets.
We're all going for wins. Nat.
Yeah, I just think, as you said, it's good to kind of go to, like Nat said before, like get in their faces early doors, get the fans turning on them a little bit because they're not where they wanted to be, despite their little flourish recently. They're still lower down in the table where they want to be, and there's going to be 20,000 odd fans calling for our heads. There's going to be 3,000 of us. It's going to be a great occasion, especially for League Two, the enormity of the crowd and everything else. So I just fancy we've got that mentality now. Even if we went behind, we've got that mentality to come back. So I just think that's where we've got the edge as well as the quality. I just think it's that mentality aspect. So 2-1, I'm going to go for it. Like late on, a late 2-1 win.
Matt, we're all too positive here. But bring us crashing back down to earth. Come on.
That was my original prediction. I was going to go with 1 because I can't see it being a clean sheet, but I think you'll still win. I think it will still be a Wrexham win. So I think 2-1. I do think 2-1.
This is the bit we're going to put on Twitter, and all the Bradford fans are going to be coming after you. You're going to have to show that.
Do I just sit on the fence and say 2-2?
No. You're going to need this inner steel that you've got now, Nat. Nat, thank you so much for coming on. Can I just say, right, Agent Knight-Percival, can you get Christian Dibble on for us? Have a word with him.
Do you want him doing it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm in the car with him tomorrow.
Right. Okay. First thing, before you say anything else, even where we're going, get Christian Dibble to do it.
Well, he's been on me. He wants to have a. He was sort of like, he was like, oh, can't wait to listen to this in the car. You best mention me. I said, absolutely not. I'm not going to say a word about you, mate. But no, but in all honesty, he's a great guy. I absolutely love him. I actually just like hanging around him because he's just funny to be around. I don't think he even realizes he's funny.
That's a proper keeper, isn't it? That's like,
Yeah.
They are nuts, aren't they?
Pilot Dibble with his airplane flying simulators and all that.
Does he?
Hang on.
Oh, there we are. He's going to have to come on and defend himself now, isn't he?
Now we know what.
This is
Maybe we
brilliant.
could bribe him.
I had to mention something about him, didn't I?
Does he fly any of them for real? Is he learning to fly or anything?
I think he's told me if he got in a cockpit, he could fly a plane easily. Those are his words to me. Those are his words.
Well, so okay, let's picture the scene. He's over the Atlantic. It comes over on the loudspeaker. Can anyone fly a plane? The pilot's just been taken ill. All you get is Christian Dibble standing right up, going, "I'll fly this plane."
Yeah, he picks out his aviators from his blazer pocket, puts them on. He gets into the cockpit and he flies it safely back, London Stansted,
and the MH370 gets home.
Yeah,
incredible. Right, get on till tomorrow. We want him on.
Right, Nat. Thank you so much for your time. So much enjoyed that. Really good to.
Been amazing. I feel like we've been talking to God because of the sort of heavenly surrounds. Of the
just haven't decorated like the back wall in here. It's all sort of like through there.
There we go.
Oh, there we go.
Lovely.
Pleasure having you on. Thanks to everyone for listening. As always, you can tweet us, email us. We'll check it twice a year. And we're on YouTube as well now. So please get in touch, leave a comment, like, comment, subscribe. Is that what they say? And see you all soon. Bye.
Yeah, cheers. Bye. Take care.